Well, it's martini time again. And I didn't give a little announcement because we were watching Midsummer Mysteries, which is our favorite British mysteries on Netflix. And they ran it for about 10 or 12 years. So there's a lot of them. So every night in the afternoon we watch them. And every time I watch Midsummer Mysteries, I'm reinvigorate or energize my appreciation for the mystery and the puzzle, the solving of the puzzle. And so it's always, I ask my little frog when there's a puzzle, I ask my little frog to dive down into the unconscious and come up with a piece to the puzzle. Maybe even the solution, but another piece. We keep putting the pieces together, and I think our whole life is a puzzle. And we keep trying to put the pieces together, and when we get one that fits, and we feel whole and integrated. But then we go back to the puzzle again. We need some more pieces. So life seems to be an ongoing dance between finding pieces and then losing the pieces. Finding the pieces, then losing the pieces. There's so many great puzzles. We watch puzzles, we play with puzzles, we invent puzzles. We are entertained by puzzles. Life would be impossible without puzzles, because with the puzzle comes a surprise. A surprise when you find the missing piece. Science is a puzzle. Religion is a puzzle. Politics, Trump is a puzzle. Everything's a puzzle. Everything is a box of pieces. And everybody, all human beings are sitting around trying to put their puzzle back together. Isn't that interesting? Just like at Hatteras, where our hosts always had a big picture puzzle going. So whenever they went down to the beach, there was a puzzle waiting for them, So even when we go back home, we have a puzzle. Marriage is a puzzle. We go to a therapist to solve the puzzle, or a priest, or we spend our life by doing yoga and meditation and Zen and all these self-help and all these traditions to figure out, to find more pieces to the puzzle. I just find that fascinating. And the biggest puzzle of all, I think, is the Jesus puzzle. On Facebook, everybody's trying to figure out the Bible or the Jesus puzzle, and everybody has a piece, and everybody says, no, your piece isn't right, I got the piece. And but the puzzle goes on. You can't fit the Jesus puzzle together. And you can't fit the piece. Something's wrong with the Jesus puzzle. Otherwise, if it were solved, it would no longer, it wouldn't even be interesting. So the Jesus puzzle is fascinating because it's not solved. So everybody's trying to put the pieces together. But we spend our whole life doing that, And Zen is a puzzle. I mean, Zen is a famous puzzle because the Zen cone that the master gives you, what is the sound of one hand clapping, or who were you before your parents were born? That's a puzzle. How do you solve that? Well, these puzzles of life can't be solved by logic. That's the first thing. You can't logic analytically, you can't analyze a puzzle and figure it out. You have to suddenly get a gestalt, or a picture of the whole. Ah, I see. Even the game shows on TV are puzzles, with Jeopardy and all these. You got a bunch of words up there, and the first one to see the whole sentence, I win, you see. So the first one to see the whole wins. That's the way the puzzle works when it's in competition. The first one who can see the whole with the fewest pieces wins, you see. So all the parlor games are like that. Just pay attention. If you start looking, you'll see everything is a puzzle. So we're always trying to put the whole, we're always broken, and we're always trying to restore unity. When the puzzle is finished, unity is restored. But of course the puzzles are always temporary, so we immediately go to another puzzle or create another puzzle. But the idea in the puzzle is that there is a whole, there's a trust that there is a whole picture. If you got a box of jigsaw puzzles and they were all from different pictures, it wouldn't make any sense. You couldn't put it back together. So you trust that there is a whole, a completed picture, and each piece in the puzzle has the whole picture in it. So you can't, the whole picture, the final unity is in each piece, but each, it doesn't go the other way. In other words, the piece is not, I forgot how that goes. But the point is that the whole is in the piece, in the same way that in every cell, the DNA of the whole organism is in the cell. So you can clone a whole organism out of one cell. So the unity is in the cell, right? And so the puzzle is always in us already, or we wouldn't know it when we saw it. So even the puzzle of God is already solved in us, and that's why we know it when we see it. But we don't know it until we discover it. And nobody can really tell you what the puzzle is because it's in us, you see? So the whole, the unity that we're seeking, the promised land, the paradise lost, is in us already, always. But we are cursed and blessed to search for it. And when we don't know it until we see it. Now, this is like Steve Jobs, for instance. Steve Jobs was able to intuit the product that would integrate all of the pieces, and he would drive everybody to find it, and they would bring him one. No, that's not it. Get out of here. No, that's not it. Get out of here. No, that's not it. Nobody knew what they were looking for. But then when somebody finally created the iPad or the final picture puzzle that put together, aha, that's it. So you recognize it when you see it. This is like the word. We can't think of the word. It's on the tip of my tongue. Everybody tries to, there's a tension there. Everybody tries to, what is it? I know it, I know it. You even stop talking about what, you even forget what you're talking about. Oh, what is that word? The tension is building, you know, everybody, is it so-and-so? Is it, no, that's not it. Is it so-and-so? No, that's not it. We can get angry. No, that's not it. And then when you relax, the word pops in, oh, that's it. And you sing it out, ah, the tension is gone, right? So we all experience that the puzzle creates a tension that drives us to restore the lost unity, you see, but we already know it. So like we forget what the unity is so we can find it. Isn't that interesting? So we forget so we can find it. And then when we find it, there is a moment of, no tension. But this is not the final puzzle. So we create another puzzle. And we keep skipping the rock across the water. Puzzle, 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 you see. And so the idea is that one puzzle eventually will solve the final puzzle and resolve the tension of life. Now, what is the tension of life? Well, it's our ego. It's our consciousness that has a view from the outside. The feeling that, and a lot of pictures like this, there's Christmas and everybody's inside and there's somebody on the outside looking in, you know. That feeling of being on the outside of life looking in. That feeling of being on the periphery of my life, of being on the periphery. Drug advertisers use this. I mean, you're watching a drug advertisement, and there everybody is having taken the drug. They're all happy and everything, and you're looking at them from the outside, and you say, I want to be like them. I feel like I'm on the outside. They're having so much joy. I want to be like them. How do I get to be like them? Well, you take this drug. Oh, okay. So you take the drug so you can be like them, ignoring the side effects, which puts you on the outside again. But anyway, that's something else. But that whole idea of being on the outside and that's a puzzle. How can I be, and that started me early in life, back in my teenage years and early, when I became an adult, I was plagued by this feeling of being outside of my life and the tension and the pain of that, being on the outside. And that's very, particularly in adolescence, that's a tremendous pain. We want to be on the inside with the group. We always feel on the outside. And we live with that our whole life, and that's a puzzle. How do we solve that puzzle, you see? So we keep finding temporary fixes to get a little temporary relief, but rarely do we solve the whole life puzzle, because it's existential. It's the puzzle of humanity. It's the puzzle of human consciousness. How can I be on the inside and the outside? I have to be on the outside because that's the scientific method. The scientific method is that you can look at stuff, here's a skull. I don't know why I got that there, but I found it on my back porch, sitting right on the back step, looking at me like somebody put it there for me to pay attention to it. I think it's probably a cat skull. So I put it there. But anyway, the objective view would be I could look at this and study it and figure out what it is. It's an it, and I could study it and cross-check it and link it and spend my whole life studying that, learning everything about it, the teeth, everything. But it's still an it. I'm still outside of it. But if I were writing a poem, you see, then I would be this skull would be me. This would be my skull, and I would experience my own mortality through this, you see, because then I would become the skull, and the skull would be me, and I would write a poem about it. I am the skull is me. There I lie on the back step, dug up by a dog. Who am I? So forth, like that. So I would be the skull. But then the other view, the objective view is, well, this is an interesting object, and I can study it, you see, and I can think about it, and write about it, and develop all kinds of information about it. But I would never be the skull. I would never discover my own mortality through this skull. I would never see myself as the skull, you see. It would always be an it. So we live in this world of I, it, looking for the I am, looking for the awareness as, to be reality instead of being outside of reality, to be being or life instead of being outside. But we can't give up being outside because we need that in order to catch a bus and wash the dishes and talk to our wife, and this is the external world that we live in. But at the same time, what's missing is the identity with the world, the union with the world, the resonance with the world, being in alignment with the world, being as the world. That's what's missing. That's the missing piece, you see. But we think we have to be one or the other. So if I become like the actor who forgets he's an actor and becomes the character, and he runs around after the play, being the character, he's lost his mind, you see. He became his character and forgot he was separate. But then on the other hand, you have the actor who can't let go of his personality, so he can't surrender to the play. He can't surrender to the character. He's always just John Wayne playing a character. He never becomes the character, you see. So there's these two ends of the pole. I can't become the world, and I lose myself in it and forget who I am, that I'm separate. So the discovery is mystical, because the discovery is what you stumble upon it. You search for the answer, you're burning by this puzzle, you've got to solve it, and eventually, when you relax, aha, and the consciousness comes together, and you're both part of the world, you are this moment, you are now, but at the same time, you're separate from it. And you can do both, hold both at the same time. And this is a whole consciousness, but it's ambiguous, it's metaphorical, it's poetic, you see, it's art, it's not logic, you see. It's holding the opposites. I am separate from the world, I'm a separate ego, a personality, and I am the world. I am part of the world, you see. So that being part and being separate are two contradictions. They're opposites, and we're either doing one or the other. But to put them both together is a realization, is a aha. In Zen, it's called satori. In Christianity, you could call it rebirth or resurrection, you see. The puzzle of the cross, the thorns, the torture of the cross, of being outside of life, has ended, and you are resurrected as life. But at the same time, you're separate. So the two poles are necessary for an integrated mind that is free from the torture and the thorns of the puzzle. So thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at Zen Live.